for substandard creature features that would be honored to be called B-movies, Sand Serpents from 2009 barely sticks head and shoulders above the ankles. It's mostly populated with actors who are about as talented as you would expect for not just a made-for-TV joint, but a Canadian made-for-TV joint. That was mean. Canada did give the world insulin, so there is that. The Internet Movie Database page isn't afraid to call out this movie for ripping off Tremors. It's exactly like Tremors if Tremors was awful, boring, and had a racist you're actively wishing the worms would eat in the first 15 minutes. The plot doesn't give you many or any fun surprises once you know to expect Tremors, which is just Dune with rednecks. We've got soldiers in Afghanistan, they're captured by the Taliban, but before their execution, something scares the Taliban away. Too bad we know the name of the movie and saw these artistically rendered things on the DVD cover, so there's absolutely no tension while we watch our characters try to figure out what's going on. The back of the box says there's a legion of sand serpents, which, if a legion is 6, then yes, that's accurate. Like Predator, our heroes get picked off one by one, and I won't lie to you and say the characters in Predator are interesting entities we care about and don't want to see get killed off. They're all pretty one-dimensional, some of them not even that. But at least Predator had some intrigue. Betrayal from Carl Weathers, rest in peace. But also just, what is this thing hunting us? This movie, it's giant worms, and like Tremors and Dune before, it senses the vibrations, making retreat and movement in general more difficult. We've seen this before. King Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun, but at least when Tremors stole the worms from Dune, it managed to do something fun with that. I feel like I know these characters, and I care when they die, and I want to see them succeed, and it's fun watching them innovate ways to escape and prevail over the graboids. These guys, I just watched this movie, and I can only remember one character's name. There's one kinda clever method of attack, but even that's a stretch. Mostly, it's just shooting at the monsters. They come and go whenever the plot needs something to kill off some of our heroes, and that way they're not much different than the Taliban. Trying to think of ways to fix this turd isn't why I'm here today, but if I was trying to shamelessly rip off Tremors, I would have had the army guys and the Taliban guys trying to work together to survive. This film knows when you don't have a physical conflict like giant worms, you want some internal conflict to spice things up. The movie solution is to have Andrews whining about something every 3 seconds. He thinks their orders are a waste of time. He doesn't like this lady who isn't cleared for combat duty, but somehow outranks the guy leading the group. Not sure how that works. He doesn't trust this one local guy whose daughter saved them from driving into a mined road. He's just a negative Nancy, and I got tired of him about 4 minutes in, but he's the second to last one to die. I don't know much about being a soldier, but I can't think of one time Andrews follows an order without some amount of sass. But if it was two enemy groups forced to work together in the face of a greater threat, you would have a legitimate reason for some heated arguments when our humans are trying to not be worm food. The problem is, you don't want to humanize nationalist terrorists, which you would almost certainly be forced to do if they were working with our main characters. Or maybe not. Nearly with his dying breath, Andrews was still being super racist, so I guess you wouldn't have to have your characters come to some sort of understanding with each other. Maybe, again, my brain wants to find ways this thing could have been better, maybe the distrust between the two groups is what gets most of them killed. Since the movie kills off almost every character by the end, it would be pretty easy to use this natural way to ramp up the tension and fuel that into some sort of theme that fits in with the depressing ending they were going for. You've also got I don't know if it's some kind of message the movie is trying to convey about the army or if it's just trying to milk all the dramatic tension it can from the scenario the characters are in. As Andrews calls her, the engineer lady is able to cobble together a radio and contact some other soldiers somewhere else. They're being attacked, so that guy makes it clear they will not be able to rescue our main characters. Until engineer lady says, we found a whole bunch of sapphires over here. Oh, well, in that case, if you can get over to this place, we can send a chopper to rescue you. Except this is blatantly a lie, but it fools her CO, and at the end, the helicopter has her, this guy from Dexter, and the little girl. But the worm's about to get them. Oh no! So this guy from Dexter jumps into the worm's mouth wearing the suicide belt. I think if the worm was close enough it was about to eat the helicopter, this explosion would be enough to kill everyone in the chopper, but whatever. This was the one slightly clever kill I alluded to earlier, just because it is a little different than all the other attacks against the worms, except it's only set up about 5 minutes earlier, and it's not exactly subtle. Oh, they mentioned this thing by name. I wonder if it's going to come into play in the next few minutes. Chekhov's gun works better when you put some distance between the setup and the payoff to allow your audience time to forget the setup so it doesn't feel so, yeah, we get it, hurry up, we know where this is going. I assume 10 seconds after the credits start, the guy in the helicopter says, so where are those sapphires? It's super weird. This is what convinces the higher-ups to send a rescue. I get it, in combat situations, you might have to make a tough call. Leave someone to die if other lives might be at stake. That happens in this movie. A guy is wounded, a worm is chasing, they have to drop him so the rest of the group can find cover in a mine. It's not an easy thing to do, but if Captain What's-His-Name stayed by his side, he would have died too. So when this guy on the radio says they can't spare any aircraft to rescue our heroes, it's rough, but I get it. But it turns out he can spare aircraft because sapphires, and I won't pretend pretend to be very enlightened about past military engagements, but were sapphires ever a big motivating factor in the war on terror? Instead of unadulterated greed being the deciding factor on this rescue, what if Engineer Lady fixes the radio, she sends an SOS, she hears a very garbled response, and before we can get an affirmative on if a rescue is coming, the line goes dead, or some more attacks from the Taliban on this end prompts them to abandon a conversation, or the radio dies because it was lousy old parts, whatever, we're not sure if a rescue is coming. The Chekhov's gun thing works here because it's been just long enough since the radio call and the rescue, when it does happen, we're all yay, they came through, and it's not leaving me with more questions than answers. Obviously, you've got different levels of bad movies, and some people enjoy this type of drivel more than I do. But the most darning thing I can say is that this just isn't entertaining. It is very by the numbers. We must walk without rhythm so we don't attract the worms. We gotta get here, then back here, then we have to get over there. When the plot isn't very engaging, you need to at least have engaging characters, but this movie can't even manage that. It wouldn't surprise me if someone put names in a hat and drew out one to decide who the last one standing would be, because Engineer Lady isn't especially compelling, so I see no reason why she's the sole survivor. You enjoy a movie because it's really good or it's really bad. Laughably bad acting, confusing story turns, hilariously incompetent CG. But when the movie is pretty mediocre, not offensively bad at anything, then you don't have much to write home about. I've said before, even with a small budget, you can still put some care into your script, into your performance, and make something entertaining, even if it's not taking the world by storm. Just a shame this movie didn't catch the memo on that.